Hello, Michael Finn, Holistic Exercise and Lifestyle Coach, and today I'm going to show you how to work the fascial system through the whole body using a cable pulley machine, if I can get my tongue untied today. So we want to work the fascial system more like unilaterally, so one arm at a time, or maybe arms going in opposite directions and legs going opposite directions, and sometimes working the right leg and the right arm, and sometimes working the right arm and the left leg, so that we're working across things. So fascia is what our body is wrapped in everywhere, all the body, underneath the skin, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the bones, and it's kind of our communication system, and it helps us know where our body is in space, so it makes you more stable, more on balance, more controlled so that we don't fall. So it's very important for staying healthy throughout the rest of your life, as well as for sport and activity like that, so that you can be more controlled on the playing field and perform at your best. So today we're going to use a cable pulley system, and so I'm going to start with just a single arm cable pull. So I got the cable up nice and high, and I've got my right hand hanging onto the cable, and I've got my left foot out in front and my right foot in back, so I'm kind of in a split stance, almost kind of like a narrow sort of lunge sort of stance. And I've got both knees bent so that I am in kind of a little bit of a mini lunge. And with that, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull my left elbow back and my left shoulder back and rotate my torso a little bit, and then I'm going to let it go all the way back forward. So I'm going to inhale and pull that elbow back, and exhale and let it all go back forward again. So that I'm just going to work those muscles in my back and in my shoulder. I'm going to rotate my torso. My weight's got to shift in my feet a little bit as I do it, so that way all of the fascia gets moving and learns where everything is in space. Now, we don't want to train this with a lot of weight, because that's going to primarily focus on the muscle system. And if we want to stimulate muscles and muscle growth and strength, well, then we can do that in different ways, or this way. But primarily this is going to work more of the fascial system, not the muscle system. But it does work the muscles too, and it burns a lot of energy as well. So, but we can add to it by changing the foot position and putting the right foot in front, by doing a big straddle stance like you're riding a horse kind of thing, and facing that way and pulling the same thing that way, and that way it's going to change the position our body's in while we're pulling. So what I might even do in somebody's program is I might do one set of this exercise with the left foot in front, and then I might do the second set with the right foot in front, and then I might do the third set with them in the big straddle stance, so that we put variety into somebody's program, so that it changes up and it changes the muscles and the fascia that we're actually using. Okay? So we could also move things in the lower body. So I could be in a little bit of a lunge down here, and I can come out of the lunge and pull with my left hand back, because I switched hands. And then I can let that arm go all the way out forward, drop down into the lunge, and then I can come out of the lunge and pull up. I can even reverse it so that I can pull and drop down into the lunge at the same time, and then come back up and let my arm come back out straight. I can go into a squat stance. I've shown my squat pull exercise on YouTube here before. I love this exercise where we squat all the way down, and when we come out of the squat we pull. Typically I do it with a lower cable, not a high cable like this. I've shown lots of chopping exercises where I stand sideways and I hang on to the cable with my right hand. My left foot is towards the cable, but I'm standing sideways, and I'm kind of doing like a baseball swing, like a left-handed baseball swing, pulling that cable in a nice diagonal pattern across my body, pulling with that lead hand. That kind of does the same thing. The more that you get your hips into it, you can sit your hips down way low like you're in a horse stance, and slide your hips across and get that torso rotating and get everything moving that way. That gets a whole lot into it. I've got a crazy step across chop exercise where we pull on one side and then we come back. I switch hands, I step across and I pull the other way, and I step across, switch hands, and I pull across the other way. There's all these different things you can do to play around with the way that we move and the way that we exercise. We could do forward pressing exercises, same sort of thing, where now I'm facing away from the cable pulley machine and I drive that arm forward, but I'm only using one arm at a time, and typically one of the other legs typically too. And this way we create balance from one side of the body to the other. And when we have a lot of balance from one arm to the other arm and one leg to the other leg, we typically avoid non-contact injuries. So whether we're an athlete and we're playing out on the playing field, if someone gets hurt out on the playing field and they weren't contacted by anything, and there wasn't like a big hole in the ground that, you know, they stepped in and hurt themselves that way or that sort of thing, I wonder what's going on with somebody when they get hurt when they're never touching anything. So in my primary sport, baseball, I hit the ground a lot. Hopefully we typically don't collide with other players, but every now and then it does happen. When we have to tag the bases, we end up hitting the base and sometimes hitting the ground. So when you hit the ground, well, yeah, if you get a little banged up or a little injury that way, well, that's different. But if you're just running around and you're trying to change direction, or you're moving direction, or you're having to flip over and roll and get up and go the other direction, you shouldn't injure yourself by doing that. If you do, it's typically because you have imbalance. And these kind of exercises correct all of that. So I highly recommend that they're in people's programs every time they actually exercise. So, with all that, if you have questions, if you want to have a phone conversation, feel free to reach out to me at michaelfinn490 on Instagram, or you can email me at michael@finfit.com. And I'm always happy to talk with people and help them adjust their programs to make them more suitable for them. All right, so have a wonderfully happy and healthy day working your whole fascial system throughout your whole body, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.